Hi, everybody. We are here today with Lindsey Turner, who is a therapist that specializes in individuals, couples, and sex therapy. We are here to ask her a whole bunch of questions. We're very excited to have her here. She's probably a dream best friend to have and a dream to have on our podcast. If you've ever thought to yourself that you wanted to ask a question to a sex therapist and you didn't know how to ask it or you're too embarrassed, this episode's for you. Yeah. Well, welcome. We're really excited to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I can't believe I'm the first guest. I feel so honored.
We are honored. We're really excited about this.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's get into it. Let's demystify. Obviously, when you watch TV or a movie, you think like sex therapist, it's like this wild experience. Like, tell us just a little bit about like what a normal session would look like and why people are really coming to a sex and couples therapist.
Okay. A sex therapist is a lot less scandalous than you might think.
Yeah.
I'm a regular everyday therapist. I have regular one-on-one talk conversations with regular everyday people about life transitions, work, family stress, relationships. The only difference is that I have specialized training in talking about sexual issues. So that's everything under the umbrella of pleasure, desire, relationships, body image, how our bodies feel when they show up in dating, touch. I'm also a couples therapist. So I do a lot of intimate dynamic work emotionally and sexually with couples as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a mix.
So when people show up to your office as if they're couples, are you doing any like hands-on things with them as well?
Yes, I'll tell you a lot about all my hands-on work. So we do some touching exercises to kind of help couples slow down and engage kind of with each other a little bit more intimately. So there's talk, there's touch, touch is mostly the at-home exercises and work like that.
Right.
People are touching each other in session.
Well, yeah.
Yes, but in a non-sexual way.
Okay, so I'm just going to speak on behalf of a lot of our followers.
Yeah.
And so we are mostly women and most of our followers have kids.
Yeah.
Most of our followers have obviously gone through, the birthing process. And one of the biggest thing that we always talk about with our friends, at least, is your 6 weeks postpartum checkup.
Mm-hmm.
So you show up 6 weeks postpartum and your doctor does the check and looks at you and says, all right, you're cleared for everything. You're cleared to work out and you're cleared to have sex. And I personally don't know a single person who heard that and was like, oh yeah, let's do it. Like pumped. And goes home and like shares the information with their husband, all excited. Because not only are you nervous if you did have a vaginal delivery, you're nervous about that, or a C-section. I'm sure you're probably, I don't know if it's 6 weeks for a C-section.
Yeah, I don't know.
But nevertheless, you're still healing. It feels like you definitely are still healing, but also like confidence wise, you're not feeling yourself 6 weeks postpartum in your body. And you're supposed to, even though you ideally have an amazing relationship with your partner, you might not feel confident in your own body. So how would you help women who are feeling that way? And honestly, even beyond the 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a very loaded question because people go to that appointment, they come out and they're like 6 weeks and all of a sudden I'm cleared for sex. First of all, the 6 weeks doesn't mean that mentally you're ready, but physically your body might be ready to experience sex.
Is it even though?
Right.
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Like your body, you feel like your body's not even ready physically. But if sometimes I've had people that I work with come and they say, after my 6 week scan, I still had bleeding or tearing and things like that. So they're not ready.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, 6 weeks is not even enough time for our bodies to physically recover from the trauma that you experience from giving birth. But after 6 weeks, I've never met anybody who's been mentally ready to start having sex again.
You heard it here first.
So why are they clearing us? Or are they just saying
I think
medically you can, but I think that just hearing that puts a lot of pressure on women, right?
So
I could hear it from you guys. You guys are like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's just doesn't feel normal.
Yeah.
So I just want to normalize first that that's not the norm, right?
Yeah.
People aren't like, oh, I'm ready for this now, right? So your body just went through this trauma. You're going through all these changes. Not only do women's bodies change a lot in their 30s, when your body changes when you have a kid, it's like a complete 180. Okay, so a piece of the work that I do with helping women tap back into their bodies is helping them tap into their sensuality, tap back into touch. So when they feel ready though, right? Okay. So this isn't something I'm doing right away. I'm waiting for them to tell me that they feel ready and they want to start tapping into their desire. So maybe they're not even thinking about sex, but they're like, I want to start thinking about it. I want to start having sex with my partner again. And so we do a lot of sensual touching exercises because I'm sure somebody who's nursing, somebody who's probably taking care of 2 kids, nothing is sexy about that, right?
Yeah.
And being touched, it's so overstimulating. It's not a good feeling. So I really try to help women ease back into touch through touching their own bodies first. So that's one piece of it. The second piece, I think, is having a partner who makes you feel safe and helps you physiologically ease back into it. Because if you feel that you don't have pressure and you can ease back into sex, it can happen a lot more safely and in a way where your body will feel ready over time. Because if you feel pressure, we clench, we build tension that actually can make sex painful or really uncomfortable, which is really dangerous. You never want to do that. Your body's just gone through this really insane thing. And so feelings that you might have, right? You're overstimulated, your body's constantly touched, grabbed,
Yeah.
you know,
In like not a sexual way.
in a really in a really non-sexual
Yeah,
way that makes you feel super unsexy.
Yes.
Right. And so I'm not going to say, okay, now go put on lingerie, look at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah.
Right. You can do that if you want to, but most women's bodies are changing, they're kind of evolving, going back to a different state or changing into a new state.
Yeah.
And so I think a part of that is emotionally understanding that, right?
Yeah.
Understanding that our bodies change and that might feel really uncomfortable for us as women. So sitting in that discomfort, I think, is piece number one. Number two, I think getting touch that's comfortable for you and being sensual with yourself is very uncomfortable, right? Because your day now is feeding, nursing, burping, poops, waking up, right? Like none of that is sexy. So if you take a shower one day, right? Can you ask your husband or your partner to take maybe for 20 minutes? Can you spend 20 minutes in the shower, just maybe breathing or, you know, maybe taking some soap, rubbing it on your arms, doing things that make your body feel really relaxed and really sensual can help you ease back into just being touched in general.
Yeah.
Because I think that we get so disconnected from our bodies that something so simple like that could just help us slow down and remind ourselves that touch can be pleasurable, can be desirable, even in a non-sexual way.
Yeah.
So the non-sexual helps us build to the
To
sexual.
the
That's
okay.
kind of what we work on. So,
Yeah. You had mentioned to us one time, I think, that you do an exercise where you look yourself in the mirror, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we want to hear this.
Yeah, we want to hear more about that.
Well,
because I think that applies beyond postpartum.
Yeah, I feel like this feels like something like I could have done when I was like 20.
Totally. This is beyond, but also you're right. For
Yeah.
women, I work with a mix of women in their 20s and their 30s.
Yeah.
So bodies are going through a lot of different things. And I see just as much negative body image in women in their 20s that I see with postpartum moms.
Yeah.
So it's just a women issue. I think it's just, honestly, it's a society issue.
Yeah.
I work with a lot of men who deal with body image too. We don't even think about that being an
No,
option.
that's so fair.
So the exercise that I work on with women, this might feel really scary and really vulnerable for some people. So if you can't do this, there's ways to ease into it, right? So if we want to go all the way to the end, we could do this in a series, right? I could say, can you look in the mirror with your shirt off? Can you look in the mirror with your pants off? Can you pick 2 things about your body that you feel okay about, right? We don't have to be obsessed with the way that our bodies look because I think society is like body positivity, body image, right? All that stuff. But if we can just slow down and we can say, what's one thing that I'm okay with, right? Then we can eventually accelerate that to fully naked, looking at yourself in the mirror and picking out 5 things that you like about yourself, right? Because I think as women, we're so easy to criticize ourselves. It just feels, it's like that, right? If I ask you, what's something you don't like about yourself? Any person, any woman can answer that in 2 seconds, but what are 5 things that you like about yourself?
Yeah.
And that's something that I see people having a much harder time with. And if you're having a hard time talking about your body in a positive way, what does that say about your relationship to yourself? And especially if you're postpartum, it's much harder to feel confident or comfortable, you know, getting back in bed with your partner.
Yeah. And I love this. And I feel like, not to be cliche, but like even as a mom right now, I think about that. Like I want my kids to be able to do that. And I feel like, you know, this kind of leads into my next question, but like, how do I model a healthy relationship with my own body to like show my kids that you should love all these things about them? Like I think are so amazing. Like I don't want them to look at that and, you know, dislike it. But I think even furthermore, as a parent, how am I modeling a healthy relationship with my partner? Not just for him and I to have a healthy relationship, but for my kids to see what a healthy relationship looks like and like what I would want them to emulate in their future relationships.
Everything that we know about sex, relationships, and our relationships to our body is rooted in our childhood. So if you grew up in a home where your parents didn't kiss or cuddle, they didn't hold hands, maybe they argued, maybe they screamed at each other in front of you, maybe they yelled at you. What does that teach you about how to have communication or emotional connection or affection in a relationship? Not the best things, right? But if, let's say, you guys came home from work and you gave your husband a cuddle or a kiss, or you guys watched a movie under the blankets together, or you walked around with your kids holding hands, or maybe you argued in the kitchen after dinner, but you were able to express what you were feeling and advocate for yourselves and problem solve in front of them. It teaches them so much more about how to communicate their feelings, how to be affectionate, that affection's okay. I can't tell you how many people walk in this room and they say, my parents hated each other growing up, or my parents were divorced and they never spoke to each other. I never had the model of a healthy relationship in front of me. And now I get really uncomfortable when somebody touches me, or if somebody wants to open up to me, I feel like I shut down or I'm avoidant. So it's really, really important to model that behavior for your kids.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I don't know what it was that I saw. This was a while ago. And I saw like a husband, and every time, maybe it was something on social media, I'm sure, but it was like rich in life, because when my husband comes home, like he gives me a kiss before he like greets my kids. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, this doesn't happen all the time, but like I want my son to do that. So I told my husband, I was like, you know what, when you come in, I know it's been a long day.
This isn't about me.
Yeah, literally. I'm like, I know you're so excited to see the kids. Like, obviously, they're like they're like bundles of joy, and I've been texting them all day. Like, this is what I need when you get home. But I'm like, just come in and like, I want you to find me.
Yeah.
And like, just find me and like quickly, just like quickly like acknowledge my presence.
Yeah.
Like he's been doing that. And like, truthfully, like, yes, it feels really good.
How does
like,
it make you feel?
Yeah, it makes me feel nice. I'm like, oh, this is so lovely.
Yeah.
And like, you know, sometimes you have to like tell people what you want.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I want, you know, my son to see this, and I want my daughter now. I'm like, I want her to think that like that's the standard.
That's the
you
norm.
know, and like,
Yeah.
I just think like there's just so much of, and I wonder if like, you know, my parents felt this way. Probably not. I feel like it's a different generation, but like, I just want, like, I feel like I'm not even making decisions on like my own relationship sometimes, just like based on my needs, but like also my kids' needs.
But I think that's the
100%.
difference in our generation too.
Yeah.
We're thinking about those things.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you're even like thinking about that, bringing that into your relationship and modeling that for your kids, that they're already better off in that way.
Yeah.
So,
but I think that stuff is really important. And I will say, I actually did grow up from a divorced household, so I didn't see any fighting because my parents got divorced super, super young. But I didn't see any of that like intimacy.
Maybe you didn't
like
see anything.
Yeah. So I'm wondering like, what did I'm sure as you're saying that, like, what did my parents do to help me? Because I am healthy in my relationships. So I'm curious, or was it just me seeing it maybe from other family members?
It could be, right? It's a part of it's about our caregivers, but some of it is just the relationships that we witness. Maybe your grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends, parents, right? And so you picked up on things that were the norm. But even having no model of that in your house sends a message too, right?
Yeah.
So
I think it's good though for people to hear that it's okay to have some of these arguments with your kids, because I know that like, at least on social media, there's this pressure. I can speak for myself that I feel to just make sure that my kids are having like the best. I'm sure
the best
childhood.
The perfect childhood, the best role models, the best relationships with every single family member, including yourself, your husband, siblings, all of that stuff. And I feel like there's this pressure to just make sure that everything is like
seems
perfect for them. Like if I'm upset, I've had moments where like I remove myself. I don't want to cry in front of them, but then I'm like, no, you know what? Also coming from like a teacher standpoint, like it's okay for my daughter to see me cry, be upset about something, show her how I'm working through my feelings. So it's a good point of like picking and choosing, but I think it's just nice to hear overall that like your kids should be seeing
100%.
like conflict resolution.
And also like what's a perfect childhood?
Right.
I certainly don't know.
I've worked with hundreds of people.
Perfect childhood. I used to get dropped off at a gas station to get exchanged in between me and my parents. Because they were divorced, and they would meet at like a gas station on the highway, and my dad like would roll over and
you walk down the highway. Right?
No, it's resilience. I think that's like a part of it. It's resilience.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. No, it's 100% made me who I am. Okay, so that's all really great to hear. So we asked our followers, we actually put an anonymous box on our Instagram page, and a bunch of people wrote in any questions that they might be afraid to ask or say out loud. So we want to ask you some of those right now. And I'm going to take out my phone for some of this. Okay, so here are some of the questions that people wrote in. I really don't care about sex anymore, and it's annoying when my husband wants it. What can I do to increase my sex drive? I haven't had an orgasm since I got pregnant, and my kid is 16 months now. Eek.
Yeah.
That's
right?
Yeah,
it's not a good feeling, right? Your partner wants to be intimate with you. I think it starts with you, right? Asking yourself, what's the why? Why am I not feeling sexy? Why am I not feeling sexual, right? Your body is still technically postpartum, 16 months, right? But I think kind of similarly to what we were talking about before, tapping back into your sensuality. If you're not feeling sexy, if you're not feeling sexual, your brain is probably not in a space to feel relaxed and in a place to feel that, right? Because sex, whether it's on your own or whether it's with a partner, it's all about feeling relaxed and it's all about enjoying pleasure. I want you to ask yourself in 16 months of having a kid, how frequently are you really sitting down to relax and focus on your pleasure, right? It's probably not something that most women are doing. So I think you can talk to a therapist, you can talk to somebody about what it means to kind of slow down and tap back into your body. But I really think it just means it's listening to yourself, right? And trying to slow down enough to make it a priority. Because if your mind is going, there's not really going to be room for it. So we kind of have to create room for it too.
And I also think what you might have enjoyed sexually previous to having kids could change.
Totally.
And you may want to explore new things, because it could just like, I feel like your sex drive changes, what you enjoy and what you like and don't like in the bedroom could easily change.
100%.
Pre-having kids, supposed to.
And as your body changes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay. How long is too long to go without being intimate?
There's no timeline. So I work with some people who have sex a few times a year, people who have sex once a month, people who have sex once a week. So it's really up to you and whatever you feel comfortable with. I wonder why that person's asking that question, right? If they're questioning themselves, am I not having enough sex? Should I be wanting it more? So there really isn't an answer. If you feel satisfied, if you feel okay, then that's okay, even if it's a handful of times. So
But
there's no right or
potentially,
wrong.
if you're asking this question, maybe it's like something to explore. Like, is your relationship doomed if you're just like kind of not into it?
If you're
Yeah.
not into it and it's upsetting you,
Yeah.
Right.
then it's something to work on, right?
Yeah.
I'm a sex therapist, so I'm always going to say that you can work on it,
Yeah.
right? And there's things to add or change or progress. And I think asking yourself, what about it are you not into,
Yeah.
right? Are you struggling to feel attracted to your partner, right? A lot of times, relationships change over time. So when we have more responsibilities, when we have kids, or maybe we feel less attracted to our partner. So maybe there's a question there within that that you're actually wondering.
Yeah.
But no, it's not.
Yeah.
There's no standard for these questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think, and prior to like being married, I think that this is really interesting. Like when you're, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like when you're young and dating, I do feel like a lot of your relationship is based around sex.
Yeah.
And I wonder if like that shift of like once you're married and you've been married for years and like you have kids and like your relationship isn't really based around sex anymore. I wonder if like that's why people start to question things because like I do feel like like the beginning of relationships, like what is it? It is like your sexual attraction, it's like sex, like, and then it changes. And I wonder if people like question.
Well, the honeymoon phase is such a norm, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's having so much sex and they're hooking up so much and it's so fun in the beginning. And then after X amount of time, that feeling starts to die out because you get to know that person, right?
Patterns.
But we also start to have a more vulnerable relationship with our partners. So a lot of times our vulnerabilities are not super sexy.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're trying to jump each other's bones all the time.
Right.
So it's really normal. And then add in kids, more responsibilities, less time, careers, family, whatever it is. It's hard to add that time in the mix.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, what are healthy ways to rebuild physical intimacy if one or both of us don't feel spontaneous desire anymore? Okay. Very similar themes.
Yeah.
Which is like reassuring, like
totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Okay. So first of all, spontaneous desire is almost never the case for couples. So let's just take spontaneous desire and throw it off the Empire State. Okay. So what research actually shows us is that responsive desire is actually what most couples experience. So when your husband comes home from work, he's probably tired. Maybe you were home all day taking care of the kids, right? You're not going to be ripping each other's clothes off, right? Whatever it is, we need to be able to create intimacy. So being able to touch your partner's body and seeing how their bodies respond to it is a really big part of the work that I do. It's really rare that we're spontaneously going to want sex at the exact same time that our partner wants sex. So my advice for people is to really try to slow it down because sex can also move very quickly, right? So people can just rush through it. So the way that I try to slow it down, and actually an exercise that I do in a series of exercises with my couples is having them do sensual touching exercises. So that's something that you would do, something you would see right here on this couch. So I would ask them to maybe turn to each other, touch each other's arms, kind of tap into their sensuality. Think about the way that your partner's responding to your touch. Think about the way that your partner's body feels as you're touching it. And so that is in a series of exercises to the point where then they get sent home. And for homework, you try sensual touching completely naked, no clothes, where you'll use oils, lotions, and just go in with curiosity and exploration. I think a lot of people have the expectation of, oh my God, it needs to be spontaneous. It needs to be this. It needs to be hot and sexy every single time. But I think that exercises like this, where we're just touching each other's bodies, exploring, trying to tap into our sensuality, tap into what our partner likes, is the most intimate thing that you can do with your partner. And then you can translate those things into sexual moments. As well.
Also, I feel like that's being even more vulnerable than having
Exactly. Exactly.
But also I was going to say, like, spontaneous desire, at least like I feel like for most parents, like that's just not even an option. Like if you're feeling like you're in the mood, like sorry, like your kids are on the ground, like whatever. So it's like I almost feel like that's not even really like an option anymore, unless you're like on a vacation or something. I don't know,
it's like not. So I give people this series of exercises, and we start by just doing it in session. Then I'll tell them, go home and try it with your shirts off. Right? Touch each other's chests, maybe touch each other's necks and faces, and see how your partner's skin feels. Think about the textures, the temperature of their skin, things that you never noticed before. And then those are things that you can translate into sexual moments, right? So if you're wanting to have a sexual moment with your partner, maybe they're not into it, see how their body responds if maybe you go over them and you start touching their arm a little bit, seeing how their body feels. So there's different things that you can kind of do to just slow it down and get into those sexual moments with your partner.
How do we navigate one partner not being as horny without either partner feeling rejected or pressured?
So everybody has a different sexual response cycle. So it's really normal. Actually, desire discrepancies is the number one couples related issue. So that means
tell us
that,
what that
desire
means.
discrepancy is just a couple that has one person who's more sexually aroused or having more sexual desire than the other person on just a higher frequency. So that is the number one recorded couples challenge. So I think it's more of the emotional piece of it, right? Like what's making you feel rejected
Mhm.
and what's making you feel like maybe you don't want to engage in sexual intimacy with your partner. So I think really understanding the messages behind those things can help you tap more into those sexual experiences
Mhm.
because clearly something's happening that you're shutting down. And then a lot of times when people are the less sexual person, they then start to feel like sex is a chore, they're not doing enough, and that makes them shut down even more.
Yeah.
And if you want to be more sexual, we have to feel relaxed. We have to
Right.
feel safe with our
Right.
partner.
Can you give us an example of a script or just something that you could say to your partner? Let's say like they've been wanting to have sex all week and you're just like
Mhm.
not in it that week. And it's not
Yeah.
like there's no bigger
Yeah.
issue. It's just like you've had a long week, you're tired, maybe the baby woke up in the middle of the night and like you don't want your partner to feel rejected. Like, is there a way? Can you tell us like a way that you could like kindly explain, like basically like it's not you, it's me?
I think saying that,
Yeah.
right? Just being able to say, I don't feel, turned on. I don't feel sexy. I don't feel all these things.
Mhm.
I think it's one thing if you're feeling completely avoidant of sex, right?
Yes.
If you're feeling like I have too much going on and I'm struggling to even give myself the space to connect with my partner.
Yeah.
But if you're just feeling exhausted and
Yeah.
feeling like I'm not in the mood or I don't want to, you should be able to say that to your partner,
Yeah.
and your partner
Yeah.
needs to be able to create space for that and respect
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I will say a common theme that we got in our questions, because we got rid of a few of them,
Yeah.
is similar to this one. Is it sounds like a lot of people are just so tired.
Yeah.
That's what everyone
Yeah.
kept saying. Like when you're too tired, we got so many that
Yeah.
were
They're like,
when,
I'm just
when
not
too
interested.
tired.
Yeah.
I'm not interested. I'm tired. Like, everybody has young kids at home.
Mhm.
So I feel like that's a common
Theme.
seem to be a
Yeah.
common
Mhm.
theme of
Mhm.
like women are just feeling really tired.
I think what it is like doesn't seem like a vast majority of women
Yeah.
are prioritizing it.
Well, I think that was what I was just thinking when you guys were saying that.
Yeah.
Everyone's tired.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Right.
everyone's tired. Everyone has such little time. Everyone has social schedules and babies to take care of and a family or a dating life, right? There's so many different things that we're doing in our lives, but we all have time to like get in bed and watch TV, right? And,
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Scroll
and like go on our phones for
100%.
hours,
Yes.
right? But like, what if we put the phone down and
Yeah.
instead, like, we don't have to be having like crazy sex every
Right.
night, but like once in a while, we just put the phones down, and what if we just
Yeah.
like gave each other a massage
Yeah.
or kissed for 5 minutes, right? You'll see where those things can lead.
Yeah.
And sometimes sex can actually be really relaxing for people.
They just like, don't know it.
They don't know it, right? And that's why the expectation of spontaneity is something that takes away sex
Yeah.
from so many couples. But if we could just lean into our responsiveness, right, the way that our bodies respond to just touch, kissing, cuddling, closeness,
Mhm.
then you'll probably be having more sex and enjoying it more.
Yeah.
So
Right. Okay. How do we make each other feel like partners again instead of coworkers managing a household?
sex happens from the minute that we wake up in the morning. So if you guys are in bed with your husbands and are rolling right out of bed, rushing to take care of your kids, getting them to school, starting your work day, your husband's going to his work job, comes back, making dinner, cleaning, getting the kids in bed, right? Like nothing is super sexy about
Yeah.
that. But if we wake up in the morning and maybe we cuddle for 2 minutes before we jump out of bed, maybe we have a kiss before we leave, maybe one of you texts the other person thinking about you or a cute emoji or whatever it is, you're building that intimacy throughout the day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I think being intentional is super important as we
Yeah.
get older and have more responsibilities.
Yeah.
Like I said, intimacy and sex is created.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
think people having the expectation of spontaneity or assuming what our partner knows what we want all the time
Mhm.
stops people from having the intimacy that they want.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more vulnerable than you think
Yeah.
too, right? It's like
Yeah.
putting yourself out there, asking for it, right? Asking for that intimacy. So I get it, that's vulnerable. It's not people's first instinct.
No, but I think that's a really interesting perspective because I feel like most of us know that like in relationships, like
Yeah.
it's work.
Yeah.
And I think that there is this just like false prophecy of like
Yeah.
sex is not work. And I think it's like really
Right.
interesting to hear that like, no, just like everything else in your relationship,
Yeah.
it's work.
It is.
And it's like not embarrassing or not a problem to have to
No.
put in work to have sex.
Yeah, I love what you said.
Yeah.
Sex starts in the morning, because I
Yeah.
feel like obviously like we think about sex and we think about like the moment that sex is happening, but
Right.
you're trying to say like it starts
Right.
starts
when you
from
wake
the
up in the
minute that
morning.
you
It's
wake up.
not, it's the
Yeah,
little
exactly.
things
Yeah.
that
Exactly.
can help build that
Exactly.
relationship.
Or just like intimacy in general, like might
Totally.
not even be sex. Yeah. I feel
Yeah.
like that's really helpful for our
Yeah.
listeners.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so we are going to send us off. We're
Yeah.
going to do a rapid fire.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you a series of questions,
Okay, let's do
and
it.
I just want you to give your
No.
instinctual
Okay.
answer.
Yeah.
And we're going to go through this
Okay,
super
let's do
quick.
it.
Biggest libido killer.
Being judgmental.
What is something couples think is normal that you think is not?
Probably thinking that quality time is being on your phone or scrolling on your phones together or watching TV together. No screens during quality time.
Yeah.
We can all learn from that.
Yeah. Are there certain scents or things to eat that increase your sex drive?
I have no idea what that means. Maybe
oysters are
I don't encourage this, but probably alcohol.
no scents that you can like light in the room to none of that.
I mean, lighting a candle and lowering the lighting.
That might be like your personal preference.
That just like creates a more
but no, like
that's what you
physiological.
could do during your touching exercises, right?
So sounds like a lot of that's myth. Okay.
Yeah.
Lube, yay or nay?
I mean, yay, start, beginning, end on your way to work with your friends. I mean, all day, every day, correct?
Oh, wait, you can use lube like outside of just having sex.
I'm just kidding, but yes.
I'm more tell us everything else. The answer is yay. Major yes. I'm a train work.
Yeah, okay, I understand.
Major yay.
I misunderstood the question. I'm dying.
Also, maybe Lindsey
can
give us her like favorite products.
Yes, I was actually
for our followers.
This is not a sponsored ad, but Uber Lube. It's not water based because most people prefer that.
Okay.
But I would say that it's the top one. So
we'll link it
on Amazon.
Uber
Lube.
Okay.
Uber Lube.
Yeah.
Somebody told Uber Lube.
Yeah.
Biggest lie that movies or TV shows have portrayed about sex.
Spontaneity, right? It's we're getting home, ripping our clothes off.
Yeah.
And we're both like having the best time every time. So
Most underrated form of intimacy.
Couples therapy.
And if you need any.
Yeah.
One thing every couple should stop doing.
I was gonna say scrolling on phones again, but maybe expecting your partner to change. And I don't mean that in the sense if your partner is doing things that really upset you or to not help you, or maybe they're not emotionally communicative, right? You can work on those things, but ultimately people are who they are. So expecting someone to change who they are is hard. So a lot of the work I do with couples is helping couples understand why their partners show up in the way that they do. So having understanding for your partners is important.
One conversation every couple should have.
What makes me feel safe, right? So like, what are things that make me feel safe sexually? What are things that make me feel safe emotionally? I think when you're in a safe relationship and don't feel judged and you feel like you can say or do anything, like that is a really important conversation. And that's the most emotionally and sexually intimate couples that I see.
Yeah. Okay, last one, then you're off the hook. Biggest misconception about sex. I feel like I know what you're going to say based on our whole conversation.
What do you think?
Spontaneous. That it needs to be spontaneous.
Yeah, it's be amazing every time. We both have to have the best time every time, right?
Yeah.
I always say to couples, sometimes sex is going to be amazing for both of you. Sometimes it's going to be good for one of you. Sometimes it's going to suck for both of you, right? So it can be a variety of things. And I think the expectations are what gets people really worked up and upset that it's not working out that way. But you're totally right.
Yeah. Look, Rachel's learned so much.
I'm like, this doesn't mean
we should switch lanes.
No, literally. Well, Lindsey, we cannot thank you enough. This
Thank you for having me. I had the best time.
I think we've just learned that, it's okay to feel these feelings. And so many women are feeling the same thing. And, we really just hope that everyone listening feels a little bit like less alone, learn some things, and please tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me at lindseyturnertherapy.com if you want to book a session or do a consultation. I'm also Lindsey Turner Therapy on Instagram, Facebook, and you can send us a message if you want to work together. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, comment, and stay tuned for more.
Thank you.
Thank you.